Chito Vera scores probably the best win of his career, if you ask me, in a brutal, hard-fought battle against Rob Font. When I say brutal, what I more mean is for Rob Font, but it was a grinding effort just the same. BC, first question to you. What did this win prove in terms of what Vera can do against the upper echelon of this division?
I don't think I got the full picture of what this performance represented for Chito Vera until I saw him break down in the post-fight interview twice. And it was surprising, Luke. And it was great, obviously, to see him there with his family. What I summed up from that, him shouting out Jason Perillo and really this turn that he's making is he's found out how to go all in on himself. And we all, in our own field, try to get there, Luke. And we all deep inside know as we're climbing the ladder in our own field, sometimes there's certain things we're blind to that we're, not putting our best effort into. I think this is Chito Vera figuring out, how do I become a truly elite? How do I get over the hump? Like when I fought Jose Aldo, looking like I was coming on a couple fights ago and sort of, leveled out, not leveled up. He went back to the drawing board. And I think what we have here is a very unique threat within, again, the most loaded and competitive division in the sport today under any specific promotional banner. So, Luke, here's the deal. Chito Vera, this fight was the perfect advertisement for what he has. He's got a very good all-around game, but we're finding out he is super elite in certain sort of intangible categories. The cardio and the pace, no question. This was his first time going the 5-round distance, and boy, did he show you what he had. Surging, Luke, to close the final 4 rounds to score knockdowns and put Font, in peril on the verge of being stopped. But, it's funny, on the way into this fight, I said, we've seen a lot of great from Vera, but we've seen some limitations. And sometimes I go, those violent spurts, man. Maybe sometimes, remember I said that on Friday, he could level those down a little, spread them out. Luke, I was wrong about that. I think this is his path to compete with the very elite. Basically, if you're not as crazy and as tough and as durable as him, he's going to beat you. And Rob Font himself is pretty damn elite in certain categories, including striking. But I think his gas tank and really his overall damage resistance, along with his defense on this level, he found out that Chito Vera is one step above him. So what does that mean long-term? Can Chito Vera really contend against the super elites in this game? I think I learned from him in this fight and his reaction after that he's going all in to find out. And as it pertains right now, can a truly elite fighter with skill and toughness outlast him? I think so. But I think that we're finding out that group, it's a dwindling core because Vera's getting better in just about every category, and he's continuing to level up. I still have my fears again against a Dillashaw, a Jan, a Sterling. But I think he's finding out with his own pluses and minuses, how do I get the very best out of myself? I think this is the beginning toward finding that out because, Luke, Rob Font came to win. He came to show how tough he was. And at every turn, you saw Marlon Vera sucking it up to absorb the contact, but coming right back out and showing him whether I do it with cardio or whether I do it by will alone, I'm going to outlast you. And that is a scary proposition when somebody is this offensively violent and dynamic. He's not a perfect product, but he's figuring out how to at least hide his weaknesses. And this is going to become a scary proposition for everyone he faces.
Yeah, I just thought that there just seemed to be a lot more poise in the striking department. We talk often about how Yoel Romero is a very weird striker. Like, Romero doesn't catch and shoot. He just catches, blocks, moves, blocks. And then when he goes, it's just one way. Like, there's no real, back and forth between the defense and offense. And I'm not going to say Vera was doing that exactly. In fact, pretty far from it. But you did see him blocking, rolling, parrying, and just kind of waiting for his moment and then bringing his striking to life. So, one, there's just a maturity. He clearly has leveled up under the tutelage of his new coach, and it has brought just a much more balanced attack in both defense and offense, picking his shots, picking his moments and when to go, and the results speak for themselves. And plus, it enables him to set up so much else because he's not showing his cards all the time. BC, I will say something kind of interesting about this fight. Richard Mann from Fight Metric pointed out Rob Font landed 271 significant strikes, which is the third most ever landed in a UFC fight, but Marlon Vera knocked him down at least 3 times, maybe even 4, depending how you want to count them, to take the decision. In fact, Rob Font has had 2 of those top 3 fights, and he lost both of them. Another one like this was the Jose Aldo fight. One thing that occurred to me in this contest, BC, is we've seen a lot of guys who have boxing-centric MMA games, and all of them are very, very good. Max Holloway, Adrian Yanez, here's Rob Font. Like, these are not bad fighters under any stretch of the imagination. No, sir. However, all styles have pluses and minuses. One of the minuses, it seems to me, of this style is that one, as I've said before, it kind of keeps you in the pocket more, and so they tend to have a little bit higher of an absorption rate of strikes. The other one was, BC, clearly I would say that Chito Vera was the stronger power puncher of the two, but Chito Vera was the more diverse striker of the two as well. He was able to use knees up the middle. He was able to use turning back kicks. He was able to use just a wider array of strikes that enabled him to land more damage. And it was kind of weird that Font just kept sticking with the game plan of the boxing with a little bit of leg kicking here and there, not a whole lot of it. And BC, this was the really strange part. Only 2 attempted takedowns. He attempted more against Aldo. He attempted more against Garbrandt. He attempted more against most of the guys he's fought, even in 3-round contests. I do wonder, since we didn't talk about it on Friday because we were a little bit late to the party, but he ended up missing weight by 2.5 pounds. Where that fits in and what that all means, I'm not sure. But I'm not going to say Rob Font's game is not bad by any stretch, but relative to what Chito was doing, it was by definition a little bit more limited. And by virtue of that limit, both in the lack of takedowns and in the lack of diversity in the striking, I think it ended up really costing him a lot.
It did. The equivalent here is I felt like Rob Font kept running back into that burning building and being going, no, look, guys, I can do it. I'm landing big shots. But he was accruing the overall damage to his gas tank and inevitably his face that you saw in the end. And look, it's like, we all know Marlon Vera's tough as shit. I mean, just tough as nails. But I think you made a great point. He's not able to use the weaponizing of his toughness unless his offensive game is this varied. And I think that's the big difference under Perillo, along with, building his confidence to a new level. But, he saw firsthand that the hard work paid off. But he also, Luke, he doesn't show his hand when he absorbs damage. And I think that does such a weird, psyche kick to your opponent, because Font's standing in front of him, getting off the type of offense that Rob Font gets off against the, B and B- level competition, and over time wears them down and breaks them. And Rob Font just kept going back to the well, just probably thinking, look, I'm just going to bite down myself and endure, and I'll finally show weakness in this guy. I'll finally find that hole of vulnerability. And it wasn't there, because I think when Chito Vera is operating offensively at this varied of an attack, it makes that superpower of his damage resistance so much more profound. But Luke, can he win against the elites, which is all he's going to face moving forward? And you heard Vera say afterwards, who do I want next? Number 2, 3, 4 in the rankings, whoever you got that's ranked above me. Do you think he can win on that level with a strategy that is so dependent on absorbing damage early? Because, Rob Font for the first round and 3/4 of the second round, he's almost going downhill. He's getting his shit off and it's landing. It's just not marking. It's just not showing a difference in Vera. You'd have to believe the super elites who are not only more well-rounded, but, in some cases more offensively dangerous. Can they expose that? Is this a winning strategy if he can get all the way to the top of the ladder?
I'll say that I was worried about his cardio in this fight because he had missed weight. So my thought was, for Rob Font, that he had potentially missed weight because he had some kind of an injury that didn't allow him either the road work or whatever else to train to get it off. You look at his numbers; they don't really speak to that. Although, to your point, like how heavy were the quality of those strikes? I'll say this about Vera. He isn't just durable. I mean, we talk about best chins in MMA. You better put Vera somewhere on that list. And it's not just good chin, right? He has a good chin, and like his ability to absorb damage to the body is ridiculous as well. Not everyone cuts the same. Not everyone bruises the same. Like Fedor Emelianenko, you could just whisper in his ear, and it would be a cut over his eye or something. I mean, his skin was just very prone to
all you
cut.
have to do is ask him about Russian literature, and he'll walk right out the door and not provide any more interviews, Luke.
I mean, could you be more bitter about it 7.5 years later? Okay. But the point I'm trying to make here is, not everyone is going to sustain injury to the same kinds of input, the same kinds of way, and Vera just has a huge advantage in that regard. But one thing you brought that I think needs to be shown, I mean, look at the numbers Font landing 57 significant strikes in round 1, 51, and then 71 in round 3, a huge amount. I'm not saying that those numbers aren't accurate, but I am saying that in watching this fight a second time, and a lot of that he rolled with, a lot of that he blocked, a lot of that he parried, a lot of stuff did not get through, a ton of it. And so while I do think it is absolutely critical folks understand there is A, a difference in durability, and B, Chito Vera is at the very highest end of it, it is also true that C, that I think there's a little bit of accounting that needs to happen around Vera's defensive abilities that I don't know if the stats fully reflect what the tape shows, which is someone who is very good at this point, I would say, at blocking, parrying, to an extent, rolling and slipping. He does have pretty good striking defense for someone who kind of is in the fray the whole time, and along with that, better distance management as well. So to ask him, can he beat the top guys? I don't know, man. It's Corey Sandhagen, it's TJ Dillashaw, it's Jose Aldo, it's Jan. Like, it's hard for anyone to beat any of those guys. But this is by far, the very best version of him that I've seen.